spring I created a 3 metre by 1 metre no dig bed that was a trial bed for a cutting patch. Now the trial was to see if I could grow 1 vase of flowers each week in the growing season. And so now that it is August, I am going to tell you what I have for the results so far this year. The cutting patch is behind me. You will see that it's not a bright mass of colour, but I will show you what we've got and tell you what's happened so far. So the bed was 3 metres lengthwise. Oh, it suddenly got blustery, so hopefully you can still hear me. It's reminiscent of the day that I dug this bed, or not dug it, but made the bed, because that was an incredibly blustery day and you certainly couldn't hear it on the video then, so I hope this is going to be successful. Anyway, the flowers or the plants that I sowed were in rows. So this end here next to the hedge, cut my finger, this end here is the back, is what I call the back of the bed. This is the front. So this is the sunniest side. So the sun is beating down, if we had sun, beating down all the way across the bed. So my aim was to have the higher plants towards the back and this end, so they were not casting shade on any of the other plants. So I started off by sowing some plants in April, and those plants were then planted out sometime in May. So what we had there was some maximise, which is this plant here. I've got bags on their heads now to collect some seeds because I haven't used the flowers, and there was a row, basically a row along here of maximise. This was the only one that survived. I then had a row of Greek cress, which is what you're seeing here. I've left it to go a bit too far for use, but again I'm going to use a seed, I think, so I'm leaving it as that. It's the only thing for it now. And the reason why these foliage plants were left was because there wasn't much flower. So the next row along was a row of Snapdragons, which are flowering and have been flowering for possibly a month, although I'm going to caveat that and say they've not been flowering with any vigour. So there was maybe 1 flower, so again not enough to create a patch. So it's only now, which is the 3rd of August, where we have got a selection of buds that would be good for cutting. So here in amongst the nettles, this would be a good stem. So that actually there are several good stems that I could cut here to put into arrangement. So that's great. This one is just about to start, and then we've got an orange and a red one in the far corner again, which will provide several stems. The next row was China asters. So we have the plants, they are not yet ready to flower. And then we have, so this is flop down, and then we have got some scabioses. So all of those plants in this first half of the bed were initially sown in April, planted out in May, and really, other than the wrinkled cress, and I have had some flowering on the maximise, we're really only getting into action now with the Snapdragons. Scabioses are also starting, so you can see these purple ones, and there are going to be some red ones that come up. They're just starting to bud up. Difficult to see with a black background. Let me go in. So there will be some soon. So that was planted out in May. In June, I then planted out the next series of plants. So they were sown in May and planted out in June. So we have the Nicotiana. This is Nicotiana lime green. So actually it is useful both as a bit of a flower, certainly has fragrance, but also is good for foliage as well. So it's kind of a double whammy, that one. So I do like that one. I planted out some more scabiosas to follow on through. Interestingly, or have I? Have I in that section? I think I did actually. I think that was an extra scabiosa. So that was a May sown, June planted scabiosa. I planted out a dill, which I think is that dead looking plant there, although that could, yeah, I think it is still, but it could be Cosmos, and I'm having a real battle. No, I think it was Cosmos. The dill that I planted originally died, and the Cosmos, I think I'm having a battle with rabbits, and they're munching away at the end and coming through there, so that's why that one's gone. I have one more left, otherwise we're stuffed. What else have we got in there? So we have some Nigella that was planted. Now there was a lot of Nigella as well, so there's a whole row of Nigella, of which I can only see 2 plants left. And then we had a row of zinnia, of which there are again 2 plants left. So really quite disappointing. This, obviously a weed I need to pull out. Thought I'd show the warts and all, because that's life, isn't it? So that's that. So scabiosa, I think this is a weed. In fact it is, because it's part of that plant. It was in the same hole as the plant. And we have some calendula here, which is sherbet fizz. So I do hope this comes out. I think it will, but nothing showing at the moment. I think these were some more zinnias. Again, something's munching them. And the dahlia, which is just about to bud. So in reality, I should, at this point in time, or even prior to this, let me back up, even prior to this time, I should have been planting out. I should have cropped the first set of flowers and me planted out my June sown flowers. But as the first set haven't really grown too much effect, I could pull out the wrinkle cress, Ammi majors, and put in another row of flowers there. Absolutely. So if I had some flowers ready to go, of which I may have a few, so I might try that. But, and here's the big but, this is definitely a warts and all vision of my trial bed. It's not really served its purpose at the moment. Now, it could be because it was a new bed, there could be slugs hidden away underneath the matting. It's the first time I've used weed membrane. It's the first time I've used this patch, which has been pretty poor. So maybe my expectations were a bit high for the first year. I think in this next month, certainly the Snapdragons, the Scabiosa and the China Rasta are just about to pop, as are the Dahlia. So I will have something that I can pick. Will it be enough for a vase a week? Time will tell. We'll see if that happens. I suspect not. Maybe every other week for a month, but maybe not. But at the moment, there isn't really much space to plant out more. Now this bed is behaving in a similar fashion to the rest of my cutting patch. We've had a really strange year, so we had heat in May and June, then we have nothing but rain and wind in July through into August now. So the plants just don't know where they are. So as a roundup of what this bed, whether this bed is working, I would say if I needed these flowers right now for something specific, then no, it's not working. It is a good starting point, is all I can say. Now that I have sowed up some biennials, and I will be coming up to sowing some hardy annuals, then next year I think we will be in a much better position. I'll have those annuals and the biennials flowering already, so they would have taken up the gap June, July time. Then we've got the plants now, or the spring flowering plants, which hopefully will be coming up now and going through into August. And then we've got the dahlias and the later summering flowering plants. So either my choice of plants for this particular bed hasn't been great, the weather's not been great. So at the moment, the whole thing hasn't been great. In hindsight, maybe I should have planted up a couple of dahlias and we would have had a bit more oomph in the whole thing for this coming month. But as it stands, yeah, next year might be better. And if you want to start now getting a bed ready for next year, then check out the video I have on sowing biennials, because they are a must for June and July without even having to think about it. You can get them started now in the warmth of the summer, and no panic about sowing them and keeping them away from frost. Equally, the hardy annuals, so you can get them started, and they will flower earlier than the annuals that you flower in spring, so they will give you a good kickstart into spring. So if you want to be jump starting your cutting patch next year, check out the videos for sowing biennials and hardy annuals.